And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host and author, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome tonight New York Times best-selling author Mark Greaney, here to give us the inside scoop on his brand new book in the Gray Man series. That is The Chaos Agent, out now, and he's here to answer all of our most pressing questions. Mark, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Ravens. Tell us about The Chaos Agent.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is the 13th book in my Gray Man series. It's a standalone novel. You don't have to read the others to know what's going on here. And it's about the hero of the series, a guy named Court Gentry, who's known as the Gray Man. He's a former CIA paramilitary officer. And in this book, he's trying to sort of live off grid with his girlfriend in Central America, but they are targeted by this kind of mysterious enemy who is throwing a lot of weight at them. And through some cloak and dagger work and some cat and mouse chase around the globe, they realize that someone is assassinating the world leaders of artificial intelligence and robotics, and they have to figure out who it is so they can get the heat off of them.
Ooh, and just like that, Mark Greaney hooks us good. And we are going to talk about all of these things, all of the good Gray Man tea, and hear the real story about how Mark met the man who inspired the Gray Man in Guatemala when he was there studying Spanish. I know, I can't wait to hear that story. So, mystery and thriller friends, if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Here's the drill. Every Monday for hashtag Mystery Monday, because you know Mondays can be murder, we're going to make them a little less painful for you and get your week off to a killer start. So every week I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask the incredible New York Times best-selling Mark Greaney about his writing process, about this Gray Man, now a major Netflix motion picture starring Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, Billy Bob Thornton. We have so many questions. Ask him about his writing process, his incredible attention to detail, traveling to over 30 countries, learning about stunt driving, about firearms, about all of the things that he writes about. I know I can't wait to ask a lot of questions. So just get those questions going and I want to talk about the incredible praise that this book has earned. So get the questions going in the comments and I will get them right over to him. Mark, I will kick off. Tell us about this mysterious man in Guatemala. I'm dying to know.
Well, so yeah, it was back in 2007, and I was an unpublished author, and I'd given 2 manuscripts to the guy I wanted to be my agent, who is my agent now, and he had not agreed to represent me yet. But I was down in Guatemala with the company I worked for, studying Spanish, because I was the guy that had to speak Spanish to everybody at the on the phone, and my Spanish was not very good. So I just took some time on my own to go down there and study several months. And while I was down there, I went to El Salvador over the border one weekend, and I was just sitting at a bar one night, and I wasn't really even thinking about what my next book was at that point. I knew I had to come up with something, but an American guy came in the bar and spoke Spanish to the bartender, but he's clearly American, and he looked different than the other Americans that I would see down there, who are like language students or surfers and that kind of thing. And he just had a harder edge to him. So I just sat there drinking a beer and made up the story. And I never actually met him. I never talked to the guy. I just made up this backstory about this guy who was former CIA, and he's living off grid in the developing world, trying to, stay on the run. But he's working as a kind of a noble assassin, taking hits that he thinks are noble. And I guess it was probably the next day when I was like, that little bit of daydreaming turned into the kernel for a book. So I wrote a whole book and gave that to the agent. And he's like, well, I love this character, but I don't really like this story. Try and write something else. So I went and wrote a whole nother book. So my 4th novel was my first one to get published.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. So 4 novel, your 4th one was actually the first one. What happened to the other 3? Did you ever take them back to the agent and say, well, what about these now?
No, because you know what happens is, so Chaos Agent is my 24th published novel, and my 25th will come out in June. So all the good ideas from those first few works have already been gleaned and pulled out, and they're just a shell of themselves. I've used all the cool stuff from those in other things. So it was good that I wrote them, for sure.
Oh my goodness. Well, y'all, I am very excited to tell you that we have signed books from Mark tonight. So this is an incredible opportunity from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore that is, of course, Murder by the Book in Houston, Texas. And we have signed books. So I always say that books make great gifts, but signed books are even better. So you can get your signed copy of The Chaos Agent for yourself or the mystery and thriller lover in your life. We got Mother's Day coming up, Father's Day coming up. You got to think ahead to the holidays. I collect signed books all year round, and then I have my holiday gift giving on lock when holiday time runs around because I got that pile ready to go. So here is that link where you can click and order signed copies of The Gray Man. Later, the 13th book in the Gray Man series, The Chaos Agent. So here you go. Here is that link. Okay, Mark, we have Shannon Appleton. Welcome to the conversation. She says, I love the Gray Man series. Will there be another Gray Man movie?
Well, I know that they've written a second script and they are saying there's going to be another one. I don't know when it's going to be. I haven't seen the script yet. I'm not sure it's all polished or whatever, but I do know that Steve McFeely, who was one of the co-writers of the first script, wrote the second. So when they finally announced that Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans were going to make the movie and it was all greenlit, I learned about it online just like everybody else did. So that'll probably happen this time as well.
Mark, did you get to read the script before last time?
Yeah, I read every version of the script over a 10-year period. Joe Russo's first version, some versions before the Russo brothers got involved, and then they sent me the shooting script right as they started making the movie. So I probably read 5 Gray Man scripts.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. We have another question from Kim. Welcome to the conversation. She wants to know, Mark, do you travel for research work or do you just have wanderlust? Yeah, 30 countries. You got some wanderlust in those bones.
Yeah, I love to travel, and I was traveling before I was a writer, but the first book that I completed, I finished it in 2005, and I just took some vacation time and went over to Europe and researched some locations. And then I did that again with the second book, and then with the third, and just me in a backpack, staying like in the cheapest hotels I could, and taking buses. And then when I wrote Gray Man in 2007. I just took all the vacation time I had, borrowed some personal days, bookended some weekends. And I went to Europe for 10 days and just went along the route that the hero goes in during the first book. And so once I did that, then you sort of need to do it for each book because you learn so much that you wouldn't have known. So almost all the Gray Man books, except for the COVID years. And then one other time I was about to go to Vietnam to research a book and I had to have ankle surgery. So I had to write it from my couch. But all the other ones I've done some research for.
Oh, very cool. And you speak Spanish. Do you speak any other languages, Mark?
I speak bad German and really bad French and not good Spanish. My Spanish is the best of the 3, though, I guess.
That's 3 languages. I speak Russian. So I was reading Zoya Zarkova with great interest.
Yeah.
Ashley says, what's up, Mark? How have you been? Did you ever think of a mini series instead of a movie?
Yeah, so that's totally wasn't up to me. I liked the fact that it was a film, but also you see like the new Reacher and stuff like The Night Agent was a really great series. So there's some really good series coming out. So I'd have been happy either way. Obviously, you're just lucky if you're an author and something gets made. And but I didn't really have any say in that. It was once it went to Sony, which is who optioned it with the Russo brothers. I knew it was going to be a film, and then it ended up with Netflix, and they just made it one of their feature films. And as a series, I think it would have been really cool. And as far as I know, the next one's going to be feature length as well, but I don't know for sure.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited. Kim saying that must have been so exciting. Yeah, traveling the route that your hero travels, going to those countries, adding that real life flavor so that we can really hear it, smell it, taste it, feel it as we're experiencing your rendering of the pages. And your research doesn't stop there. Lauren told me that you actually have taken stunt driving, firearms training, all sorts of training in the name of research. Tell us about that.
Yeah, even before Gray Man, as I was writing my first books, I knew I was going to have to know more about firearms because I'm writing about military and espionage themes. And so I studied up a lot on it. I started going to a firearms school in Middle Tennessee. I live in West Tennessee. and they were training a lot of civilian military contractors, so who basically high risk security guards around the world. So I started training with them, and at first it was just a pistol class, and then it was a rifle class, and then it was medical class, and then week-long small unit tactics stuff. And then I trained from other places as well, and I learned how to scuba dive because I wanted to use that in the books, and I took some stunt driving and incorporated that in the books as well. So any research I can do after you write this many books, you have to get new information in your head because you want to keep it fresh. So if I get a chance to go to the Pentagon or one of the 3-letter agencies, or I just went to a U.S. embassy in West Africa in November for another book I'm writing, those are always like really great opportunities for me to just drink from the fire hose and learn a whole lot.
Ooh, very, very cool. Jello, welcome to the conversation, saying, how did Jay Snyder become the audiobooks narrator? Luck, did you choose him? He has done an awesome job for all 13 books.
I'm so lucky to have him. And I did choose him, but they only gave me 2 people to choose from. So it's kind of funny. They said, here's 2 guys, and I liked them both, but I kind of like Jay Snyder's just regular speaking voice more. And so, without much to choose from, I was like, both these guys are good. He seems like I'd rather listen to him for longer periods of time. Of course, I had no idea I would be writing 13 books, much less that Jay would be reading them. But it was incredibly good luck. He's a super nice guy. We usually talk, every year, and he's just super talented.
Well, he better buckle in because I don't think the Gray Man is slowing down anytime soon. Ashley wondering about the possibility of a prequel miniseries or 6 early days with the Goon Squad. Yeah, I mean, you could. Who knows? Maybe more feature-length films, or maybe both, right, Mark?
Yeah, and I would totally be excited to see some sort of prequel type thing. In one of my books, one of my Gray Man books, Sierra 6, half of the story takes place 12 years earlier, and then the other half is story in the present day. And so it was fun because I'd hinted, over the length of a series, you hint at all these things that had happened in the past. And it was fun for me to sort of go back and look at all that and then build a story from it. So I would love to see them do that, in a cinematic style as well. That'd be really cool.
Mark, we had some folks who submitted questions in advance who weren't able to join us live, but we'll be watching the replay. The first one is from Brian Larrabee. He says he's a huge fan of all of your books, and he wants to know how, first of all, he has a 2-part question. Are you a plotter or a pantser when it comes to the execution, the craft side of the book, the writing?
I try to be a plotter, and I get a little bit of an outline, kind of a messy outline, enough to talk to my editor about it. And so we're kind of on the same page about what I'm going to go try and do. And then I do all my research and, on my writing, all my writing. And as I'm writing, everything changes, or a lot of things change. And, there's so many things where I'm like, okay, I'll get to that point and figure it out then. And so I end up having to do a lot of stuff on the day. And honestly, I end up doing a lot of stuff in the second draft or the third draft. Because there's still little tweaks that need to be made. So I wish I was more of a plotter. My entire career, I've thought it'd be so amazing just to write this really deep, 25,000 word outline and go execute it. And you know what you're going to do every day. That just sounds really amazing. But my brain doesn't work in such an organized fashion, unfortunately.
You could be like Jeffrey Deaver, typing up to 180 page outline, tactile in a blacked out room. That's always an option for you.
I wish I could do that. It's impressive.
Brian clarified. He said, if he is a pantser, I am even more impressed because these plots are so complicated. So, wow. He wants to know also, because this is a series, he wants to know, how far out are you thinking? Is it the next book, or are you thinking many books down the road?
To be honest, I am thinking of the next book and not beyond that. I have a couple little plot ideas that could be books or subplots, and that I will get to down the road. So I guess I've thought it out a little bit because there's things that I haven't been able to use in earlier books, and I'm like, that I'll come back to that. But I don't have this vision of, I know what's going to happen in the next book in a general sense. The book after that, I could go in any one of the directions of the other ideas I have, or maybe something fresh and new will come to mind. With Chaos Agent, I was watching people like Elon Musk and these billionaire tech bros going out there with these really sophisticated AI laboratories, and the militaries wanting to use them. And I just thought, wow, there's a story right there. So, I had other ideas, but once I started looking at what was going on in the world, that tuned my brain for the next book.
I was going to ask what inspired you to take on AI in this book. So it was watching the real life news of the tech bros, and that's what spurred you to start this. Okay.
It really did. Yeah. And then once I started doing the reading and the research and, the hundreds of hours of podcasts and books and other, documents from government and think tanks, then I just, became more passionate about it. I'm not an expert on anything. I've learned enough to tell the story. But it was really fun to do a deep dive into that.
Excellent. Dave would like to know, do you have an ending in mind for the Gray Man? Ooh.
So not really. There's a couple of things and they're diametrically opposed. So the answer is no, but I do think about it sometimes, and it's quite possible that I'll just keep writing the books, for a long time, hopefully, and won't be ending it. But I'm not really thinking of an ending. I could see it go one of two ways, obviously, good or bad. And I sort of have a good way thought out and a bad way thought out. So I do not know. Nobody's safe.
I vote for the good way. Well, I mean, we have Patricia Cornwell, who is 37 Case Garbettas down the road on her series.
Yeah.
Do you have a number in mind, Mark? Or are you just going to do that? Like, what is the end point? Ponying on Dave's question. Is it when it stops being fun? Is it when you run out of ideas? Or maybe it's just, till the day Mark Greaney takes his last breath.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I mean, as long as I have fresh ideas, as long as I don't feel like I'm phoning it in or I'm, writing the same book twice, which is always kind of scary when you're so deep into a series. A lot of times the first thing you think of what you would do in this situation or what this character would be like, you're like, no, it's just like a character I had 4 books ago or 8 books ago, and you can't do it. So it gets tougher as you go along to keep it fresh and new and exciting. I may slow down at some point because I write a lot, but I'd like to keep doing it as long as people keep wanting to read it and as long as I can keep thinking up something that's different from the year before.
Well, it's going well, and everybody is very excited for The Chaos Agent, which is out now, y'all. It's out now, and you can order signed copies again for yourself or others. The mystery and thriller lover in your life from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Book. So here is that link. Whether you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, we are going live to 7 different destinations right now. Wherever you're watching from, here is the link to order your signed copy. It's so cool, of The Chaos Agent tonight, y'all. So get your mitts on that book. Mark Greaney, let's talk about Tom Clancy. So it has been 10 years since he passed. You were the last writer to write with him. How's that feeling 10 years out? Tell us your feels.
I mean, I was so lucky to have that opportunity. He passed away at the end of 2013. And so the beginning of 2011 is when they asked me if I would be interested. And I'd only had 2 published novels at that time. They were both just mass market paperbacks. They didn't blow the doors off or anything. And so I was really surprised to be given the opportunity, but we had the same editor, and the editor knew that I worked hard, and he also knew I was a massive Clancy fan. So, I was really, really fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, because if my editor had been the editor of somebody else that needed or wanted a co-author, I probably wouldn't have made it, because I just knew everything about all the Clancy books. I'd read them, I'd been reading them since the 1980s. And so I had that opportunity, and we did 3 books together before he passed away in October of 2013. We had literally just turned in Command Authority, which was the 3rd book. And then right after, his family asked me if I would continue writing the Jack Ryan series. So I did 4 more, ended up being 7 books in 6 years. So it was a really, really high pace, because I was also writing Gray Man books as well. But I'm so lucky to have had that opportunity.
Wow. So I didn't realize that you had only written 2 books on your own
Yeah.
when you started co-writing with Clancy. I mean, that must have been really intimidating.
I was completely intimidated. I remember when my agent said that they were interested in me, I just remember thinking, how do I get out of this? Because it's like so, it was so scary. And then
Yeah.
they had me go to, I knew I couldn't get out of it, and I knew it was the right thing for me. They had me go up to Baltimore and meet Tom, and that was a terrifying experience until, we started talking and everything was fine. We had a great time. But I was very intimidated by the prospect of it. And when I worked on that first book with him, it was called Locked On. I spent the whole summer up in DC at the Pentagon and other agencies. And I wasn't allowed to tell anybody I was working with Tom Clancy because they didn't know how this was all going to work out. So
Wow.
it was the whole time I kept thinking, God, all these doors would open up so easy if I just name dropped here, but I can't name drop. So as far as they knew, I was this guy with 2 little paperbacks that was trying to get all this access. But it
Oh,
all worked out.
oh my gosh. You must have been so honored when the Clancy family asked you to write more books.
Yeah. So as nervous as I was to write with him at first, by the time we'd done 3, I felt like I was definitely the right guy for the job. So I'm really glad they came to me. And they asked me to write 2 books in 2014. So it was immediately sort of drop everything and start working on the Jack Ryan novels. And I was so happy that that happened.
Oh, I love that. Melissa Watson joining us live from Australia saying, "Hi, all. Hi, Melissa. Welcome to the conversation. Thanks so much for being here." So Mark, I understand that you and your dad all had a very special tradition of exchanging Tom Clancy books on holidays. I mean, what an incredible full circle moment that you then ended up writing them. He must have been so proud of you.
Yeah, my dad passed away before I ever got published, so he never got to
Oh,
see this. But it's he really channeled, like I channeled so much from my dad, who was a journalist. He was the head of the NBC affiliate here in Memphis, where I lived. There for 50 something years. He was a World War II veteran, combat
oh,
infantry veteran, and so he's a great guy. And once I started reading Clancy, he started reading Clancy, and then we would just give each other these big Tom Clancy books at Christmas every time one came out. And I still have almost all the Clancy books I have are first edition just because we got them in 1989 or 1992 or whatever.
oh, I love that. So y'all, very exciting news. Mark is actually going to be the MC at Thriller Fest in New York City in June of this year, in just a few months. So all mystery and thriller fans, come to New York City and hang out with us at the Times Square Sheraton, where Mark will be emceeing the banquet and awards dinner, and is already working on the 3 jokes that he has promised to tell from stage. He had everybody cracking up last year, and I'm sure this year will be no different. Mark also used to teach master classes where aspiring writers would they would apply to be in his class, and they would submit the first 5 pages of their manuscript and then workshop it together. So Mark, for all aspiring authors in the audience, any advice that you have both as a best-selling author and as a teacher of authors?
Well, gosh, when I taught the master classes that I taught, and hopefully I'll get to do it again. I would take the first 5 pages of their work and I would just copy edit it exactly like a copy editor would look at my work. And both times I've done it, like I send an email out before everybody gets up there to New York, and I say, listen, this might be scary for you. If I was in your shoes, I would be intimidated by this, but please don't be intimidated. There's no other way, there's no better way you can learn than having somebody go with a fine-tooth comb, somebody that's been doing this for a while, and say, this would be better on its own line, or this is kind of a point of view shift here, or whatever. So I really like getting down in the nitty-gritty, and then after that, talking about, the big picture. Is this the right 5 pages to start your book with, for example? So, I mean, I think, my advice for writers is always to complete things. Don't write the easy parts of a project and then go on to something else when it gets hard. So many times people will be like, yeah, I'm working on 3 different series or whatever. And if you're unpublished, to me, that means you're having trouble bringing something home. You're getting to the really tough parts, the speed bumps, and you're moving on to something else that's fresh. And being good at this job is just, everything is important, and you really have to sort of slave over everything. And it's fun, if you realize that you enjoy doing it, then you'll keep doing it.
I love that. Thank you, Mark. Y'all, the book is out now. Brand new, out for just 6 days now, and you can get a signed copy right here from Murder by the Book. So here again is that link to get a signed copy. Again, stockpile those gifts and treat yourself to a signed copy of The Chaos Agent right here. So whether you're watching with us on Facebook or on YouTube, I'm going to pop that up one more time. You can get your hands on The Chaos Agent. So Mark, since you already have your next book of mine, can you give us any sneak peeks, any secrets that you can reveal tonight?
Well, my next book is called Sentinel, and it comes out at the end of June, and it's not a Gray Man novel. It's the second book in my Josh Duffy novel. The first one was called Armored, and it came out 2 years ago, or 2 years from last summer. And this one comes out June 25th, and it is about a guy who works for the State Department's Diplomatic Security Service and is married to a woman who's a political officer at the U.S. Embassy in Africa. And he's over there with his 2 kids, and they're right in the coup belt of West Africa, and a coup kicks off. So he and his wife have to sort of keep each other alive, as well as the ambassador and others, as they're sort of imperiled on all sides. So it's a big action adventure with a lot of geopolitical undertones, different from The Gray Man, because it's not about an assassin. It's not about, the greatest CIA killer that's ever lived. It's about a guy who is a bodyguard, essentially, and what he goes through. So that's my next book. And then I just turned in edits on that yesterday, and I will start writing Gray Man 14 very, very shortly.
Yay. Kristen says she enjoyed The Chaos Agent immensely. She liked Zoya being included. I liked Zoya too, Kristen. Thank you. She says, I won't share any spoilers. That's right. No spoilers on Mystery and Thriller Mavens. She says, my superhero trio would be Court, Reacher, and Joe Pike. I'm just saying, a short story with the combined authors and characters would be fun.
Yeah. I love Pike and Jack Reacher as well. And I'm really enjoying the Jack Reacher series and TV series.
So fun fact, Lee Child drinks 35 cups of coffee a day while he's writing Jack Reacher. And his co-writer and brother, Andrew Child, drinks 38 cups of coffee a day.
Has to top him.
That's how little brothers are.
Yeah.
Mark, how many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
I drink about 2, but I will have a sugar-free Red Bull in the afternoon, and I walk around tired a lot, but I don't drink all that much coffee.
Mark, if we're gonna co-write a Court Jack Reacher, who was Joe Pike.
Joe Pike.
We're gonna need you to up that caffeine intake. You're gonna have to start training now.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna hang with the Child brothers.
Yeah, it sounds like Lee and Andrew could just about handle the whole thing themselves with 70 cups of coffee between them.
I didn't actually put that together until just now, but you're totally right. That's 73 cups of coffee today. I bet the lifespan of their coffee maker is like a week.
Yeah.
They just tire it out. Y'all, we are out of time. Time flies when you're having this much fun. So if you love mysteries and thrillers as much as we do, come hang out with Mark and me at Thriller Fest in New York City. Be in a masterclass. Mark's not teaching this year, but many amazing teachers are. May 29th through June 2nd. Oh, we have one last question from Linda. She wants to know, will Zoya and Zach have their own books?
Have their own books? Yeah, we've talked about that. I think there's a bigger chance Zoya would have one than Zach. I like Zach in the roles that I've had him in. I don't know that I would anchor a book around him, but Zoya, I could absolutely see her spinning off into her own books. I think that'd be fun.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that was a possibility. I vote for the Zoya series. Oh my God, I would love Zoya Zarkova. That would be so amazing. Linda, great idea. If you do that, you have to thank Linda in the acknowledgments, Mark.
All right.
And mention Mystery and Thriller Mavens.
Okay.
Y'all, that's a wrap. Remember, the book is out now, so grab your signed copy. You don't want to miss out on this, especially not before the next movie drops. Get your signed copy of The Chaos Agent right here from Murder by the Book. All right, y'all, that is a wrap for us. I hope your week is off to a killer start. May the days and the pages fly by, and I will see you next week for Mystery Monday. I got Tamron Hall and Lisa Gardner. You're not going to want to miss this one.